The World Cup is the biggest stage in world football, and as such, it can often be make or break for footballing legacies over a single month once every 4 years. Like most of our videos over this World Cup period, and since picking up the nickname of the People's Channel, this is one which has been requested a lot in the comments section, so we'd encourage you to keep those suggestions coming in. Every World Cup there are outstanding individual performances. Take just the last three, and we could name the likes of Wesley Sneijder, Diego Forlan, and Andres Iniesta in 2010, and Fabio Cannavaro, Zinedine Zidane, and Andrea Pirlo in 2006. Now remember that there have been 20 World Cups, and the size of our task becomes clear, so don't be surprised if you disagree with us. Here are our 7 best individual performances at a World Cup. Just Fontaine, Sweden 1958. It's a great shame that the 1958 World Cup preceded the tournament being widely broadcast across the globe, as it was a World Cup which had it all. Brazil were the outstanding side and deserved champions for the first time, but the French lit up the finals just as much. They scored a remarkable 23 goals in 6 games, with 13 of those goals being scored by one man, Just Fontaine. When you consider that Miroslav Klose is the tournament's all-time top scorer with 16 goals from 24 games, the magnitude of Fontaine's tally of 13 from 6 is really drummed out, and the story is made all the more remarkable because he only played due to an injury to France's first choice centre forward. All in all, we couldn't leave Fontaine in 58 out of this 7. Johan Cruyff, West Germany 1974. It's remarkable and unfortunate that a player as gifted and decorated as Johan Cruyff only ever featured in one World Cup, but much like Fontaine, he lit up the solitary tournament that he played in. The Netherlands played beautiful football in 1974, and their brilliance was epitomised by the technique, intelligence and freedom of Cruyff. The Netherlands cruised to the final, beating Uruguay 2-0, Argentina 4-0 and Brazil 2-0 on the way. In the final, Cruyff was awarded a penalty before the West Germans had even touched the ball, but the Dutch went on to lose the game 2-1. Franz Beckenbauer was also exceptional in 1974, but it was Cruyff who was rightly awarded the Golden Ball. Pele, Sweden 1958. If we were talking about the most impressive performances at a World Cup, then the levels achieved by a 17-year-old Pele in Sweden in 1958 would have to come first, but since the criteria is simply the best, he has to settle for 5th. That may well have been different had he started the tournament for Brazil, but he more than made up for his late arrival. The youngest player in World Cup history at the time, he scored the only goal in a 1-0 quarter-final win over Wales, bagged a hat-trick in a 5-2 semi-final win over France, and a brace in another 5-2 win over Sweden in the final. His semi-final display against France is one of the finest individual displays by a footballer you were ever likely to see, and the fact that it was by a 17-year-old is all the more astonishing. Oliver Kahn, South Korea and Japan, 2002. Germany went into the 2002 World Cup with arguably their weakest squad in half a century. Michael Ballack was the team's driving force in midfield, and they had required a playoff to qualify for the finals, having lost 5-1 to England in qualifying. They went on to reach the final in Asia, but that wasn't because they suddenly transformed into a brilliant team. It was largely down to the masterful goalkeeping displays of Oliver Kahn. In Germany's 6 games en route to the final, Kahn conceded just a single goal, an achievement which saw him become the only goalkeeper in history to win the Golden Ball at a World Cup finals. Garrincha, Chile 1962. Brazil were dealt a hammer blow at the 1962 World Cup when their starman Pele was injured in only the nation's 2nd game. The defending world champions needed a new talisman, and boy did Garrincha step into that role. Arguably the greatest right winger in the history of the game, Garrincha was virtually unstoppable at his best. He reached those heights in 62, scoring a brace in the quarter and semi-finals before Brazil beat Czechoslovakia 3-1 in the final. Ronaldo, South Korea and Japan 2002. The second player from the 2002 World Cup finals to feature in this 7, Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima, was truly outstanding in South Korea and Japan. Ronaldo had been the Golden Ball winner 4 years earlier in France, but had suffered a convulsive fit hours before the final, and Brazil lost 3-0 to the hosts. 4 years later, it was redemption for one of the most ridiculously talented forwards in the history of the game. Ronaldo scored 8 goals in 7 games in 2002, with England the only team who managed to keep him out. The final saw the 2 best players of the tournament face off, Ronaldo versus Oliver Kahn, and it was Ronaldo who came out on top. He scored a brace as Brazil won 2-0. Diego Maradona, Mexico 1986. When talking about individual performances at a single World Cup, there is one man who stands out, and that is Diego Armando Maradona at the 1986 tournament in Mexico. Starring for Napoli at the time, Maradona made Mexico 86 his own, with his explosive technique and vision proving impossible to neutralise. Playing as a withdrawn forward, Maradona assisted all three of Argentina's goals in their first group game, and ended the tournament with 5 goals and 5 assists. His individual brilliance was best exemplified against England, with an extraordinary solo run and finish, and he was inevitably awarded the Golden Ball after Argentina won the final 3-2 against West Germany. So that's it for our top 7, but there should be some honourable mentions in the video description below. Thanks for watching, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to HITC Sevens.